Hello, welcome to Something Positive for Positive People. I'm Courtney Brain. Something Positive for Positive People is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that supports people navigating herpes stigma. We also educate health professionals on the ways to minimize stigma, taking the experiences of you all, our podcast guests, the community, the listeners, and incorporating them into sex education and STI prevention efforts. As of, let's see, when is this going to come out? I think this will be like in 6 weeks from now. So what will be happening is the September 29th in New York City, the Safe Sex Expo. We have a lot more clarity on what this expo is going to look like. We have the Hit Me Up space in New York City. We're getting vendors in, and we have some workshop presenters. We're going to be providing very introductory level kink type stuff. In my experience, the sex positive world, the non-monogamy communities, the kink worlds, they have very useful components that just don't make their way into the vanilla worlds as far as navigating relationships and spicing things up. Not everybody's non-monogamous, but it's almost like it's kind of expected for you to be when you go into these settings. So if people are really missing out on the access to education, resources, and pleasure and communication tools to support them in enhancing their existing relationships with their perhaps monogamous relationship partner. So, what we want to do is just bring sort of the kink curious and people who might just want some support and education in maybe spicing up things in the bedroom or the woods or the bathroom, kitchen, wherever you do the things that you do. Um, and yeah, that's what this is supposed to be. So I'm updating the description on that. We're putting the organizers onto flyers and we're putting that out there. Right now, tickets are on sale for $25 for early bird. And then as we get closer, the prices are going to increase because we got a lot of costs that we got to recover, y'all. But I'm excited about this. And I hope to see as many people who can make it there. It's a 1 day thing. It's a full day. Details are at spfpp.org/events. All right. Now we have a guest here today. We got Kate. And Kate, I'm going to go ahead and just let you introduce yourself, and then we'll get into what made you reach out to me and how we ended up connecting.
Absolutely. So my name is Kate. I am, 37 years old. I have been living with HSV, both types 1 and 2, for, well, one, since before I can remember, just as a kid. And then type 2, I was officially diagnosed probably about, let's see, I was 25, so about 12 years ago. Um, Yeah, I'm a mom. I got an awesome partner, a beautiful cat daughter, loving life.
Yeah, that's good. And I wanted to ask, so what made you reach out? Because a lot of people come in and they're at different parts of their lives. Some people just want to share their experiences to support others. Some are in a dark place, but you've been following me for quite a bit, and we're just now like getting to a podcast interview.
Yeah. So, I actually, I judge everything, I feel like most people, like pre and post pandemic, and I think I connected with you pre-pandemic, which is like crazy because that feels like a lifetime ago. But I actually heard you. I was very very into the podcast This Podcast Will Kill You, and with the Aarons, and they did a podcast on oh well, I guess I should back up for those people that don't know. This Podcast Will Kill You, it's these two women named Aaron, who both kind of go through like biology and pathology of different types of viruses, illnesses, for somebody who's very into the morbid and macabre, and also like partly out of fear but partly out of fascination. I loved their podcast because they would go over things like smallpox and flu and all of that, but they did an episode on herpes and the herpes virus, and like just basically like covering kind of the gambit, because it really, I mean, there's so many strains of it. But they had you on the opening of that podcast, and you kind of went through just like how you first were diagnosed and how that affected you and put you into this really dark place, and how you were really trying to overcome it, and how you were doing a lot of that work through of stigma minimization. And I mean, I got to be honest with you, like I was listening to it and I was driving to, I believe I was driving to work. I was either driving to or from work. I was on a commute. I had to pull over because I started crying because I just felt so like everything that you were saying about what you went through and how you felt, and like that shame, and just how you just feel like, I don't know, for me, when I was diagnosed, I really thought that my life as I knew it was over. I just felt this like I was branded with something, and like everybody was going to know, and I was just going to be this like social outcast and whatever. And so I guess just, listening to you just talk very plainly and openly was, I don't know, I just connected with it, and it I stopped the podcast and I listened to your whole thing. I actually had to go back in and listen to it later when I was a little less emotional because I was like, I'm driving and I'm a hot mess. But I was like, dang, like, I feel like, I think because at that point, I had finally reached that place where I felt okay. I felt like it's okay. And even when there's an outbreak, like, oh my gosh, it's fine. I mean, I think I had just gotten to the point where it's like I didn't feel, quote, like dirty or broken or gross when this came up. And it took a long time to get there. But hearing somebody just kind of like put that out there and then talk about the work that they were doing to continue to help other people feel less down, um, was really huge for me. So that day, when I got home, I looked you up immediately and I sent you a message, and I was like, "Oh my God, like you spoke to my soul. Like I just need you to know that, you made me cry, happy tears on my way to work." And then I guess like pretty much ever since, we've just kind of, occasionally we'll send some messages back and forth. We've just kind of kept in touch via social media. Over the past few years. Yeah, and it's just been really, I love following your content. I try to participate whenever you put stuff out there. So yeah, that's kind of how we connected.
Yeah, thank you for that detailed description too. The errands were amazing, especially
Yeah.
for the putting together so much information because I don't do that. I speak to
Right.
stigma, people's experiences, so for them to have like data and some history on stigma, I think that presents, and them having a larger platform too, it presents an opportunity for people to really learn something. And
Yeah.
I think I'm on like the tail end of it because a person might get a diagnosis, they may find some support, they may find resources, they may find, the information that they need, or they may not. And then they get into a relationship, or eventually they start dating again, they come back, and then like that's when they find me, when they're ready to deal with the mental health aspect and the stigma. I hope that people are able to find me.
Yeah. Me too. I hope so too, because you're a wonderful resource. I mean, even as somebody who is kind of navigating through feeling a little bit better, like I still like
Yeah.
your resources are just so helpful.
Thank you. All
Yeah.
right, so let's get into the we were talking a little bit before the podcast started, and you were explaining to me why you didn't want to be on video. And it sounded to me like, because I always ask people, what don't you want to talk about? And we got to this point at the end of the conversation. I was like, do you not want to talk about that? And you're like, well, no, I maybe. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
that seems very important because that sounds to me like you were saying that you don't want this out there because someone's looking for you. And if they find this, they're gonna like, what I got out of it was you gave somebody herpes and you don't want them to know that you have herpes and that they might have got it from you, but you could be saying something completely different.
Oh no, it completely the reverse. I
Okay.
caught herpes from this person.
Okay.
This person is very deep in denial about the fact that they carried it. And I found out later because interestingly enough, this person did not get it in the normal places. And so for them, and when I'm talking normal places, like usually that's like, genital area, this person got it on the back of their legs. So if we know anything about, and I am one of those people, I loved the Aaron's podcast because, they had you talking about the stigma side, and they did a lot of, backing up, like you mentioned, of the research in the medical side. And I believe their episode was called like End the Stigma or something like that with that. But I did a lot of the research when I was first diagnosed because that's kind of how I process things. And so I read that, like, apparently the name for it is called herpes because it's I forget if it's like Greek. I believe it's like whatever, Greek or Latin, but it
Yeah, I
means
was gonna say
crawling.
Greek. Yeah.
Greek or Latin, yeah. Probably Latin if we're talking about medical stuff, but it can travel. And so many people that have had it for a very long time start to get it in very strange places. Back of the legs, kind of like, is one place it can occur. And so I kind of put two and two together. Because this person actually, it was a very not a healthy relationship. This person actually ended up, having a whole other family that I did not know about. Yeah, while I was around. And so I have done my very best to just cut this person out. So it wasn't me necessarily that one. I just feel like this is the type of person who has a very fragile ego. They see me talking about this, it does not end well. And this person also is a lot older than I am. So, yeah, that's not great. But I
Okay.
feel like, um, yeah, it's just, I feel, and maybe it is like us younger generation people that really are working to break the stigma rather than just kind of being ostriches and hiding our head in the sand about it and being like, oh, it's fine, or no, that's not what that is, when it very clearly is. And so for me, I'm like, oh no, it very much is. But yeah, so I once I cut ties, I cut I cut and run, I changed my number, whole whole bit. I was like, you'll see me never. But
Yeah.
as I was mentioning to you, sometimes they do pop up
Mm.
into my emails, saying, just to kind of mess with me or just all of that. So my fear was that if my face was out there, or even my full name, that, I have no doubt that this person is actively Googling me on occasions. If I were to pop up, um, I just would be, I think they would know right away who I was talking about, what I was talking about. And so just for my own safety, I was like,
What do
let's
you think this person's gonna do?
you know, I don't know. Um, that is a really I don't know, and I think that's the scary part. And it could just be like I have made something up in my mind. But this is a person that when I didn't get a job one time, they sent an angry letter to the person who didn't hire me. And the person who didn't hire me called me to tell me about the letter that was sent. So kind of ever since, it's like it's a very unstable person. I was young when I got together with him. So yeah, I kind of just didn't have my wits about me. And I think, even after my diagnosis, I stayed with him just for a minute because I was really young and he was much older. And I guess, I don't know. He made me feel like I think he made me feel like if I did not stay, then I'd be alone forever. And then having that in my brain and then having like also this diagnosis of HSV, like I was like, all right, well, this is it. I got to just figure this out until I realized like, no, this is bullshit. and was like, no. So I think, yeah, I don't know what, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know. But again, that's the scary part for me. And as somebody who is highly anxious anyway, the big question mark is the thing that makes me the most nervous.
This person seems to have a proven track record of like inappropriate reaching out to people and things on your behalf based on how the gel
Yes.
application went. So,
Yes.
like, it doesn't sound like you really fear your safety. Are you fearing like that they're gonna just mess up things that you have going for yourself? Like you don't want them to know where you live. Obviously, that won't happen. But like if
Yeah.
they were to find you on video, because I'm asking because this is so different to me. Most people
Yeah.
don't want to be seen because they have herpes, and a lot of people just don't want people to know that they have herpes. But you have a completely different reason.
Yeah. I guess it's mostly just like I don't want to see this person. And I guess I just maybe it's just not that I don't want him to see, because this whole thing is not gonna it's not going to show them where I live, where I work, or anything. I mean, unfortunately, they know where I work, because or maybe they can probably take a guess. I mean, my name is on the website of where I work. Um, I think what I don't want them to I don't want them to see me. Like, I
Uh,
don't want them to have
there we
access to
go.
me, you
There we
know?
go.
So
Okay.
like yeah, I've done a really good job of being like, no, and I'm a pretty personal person, but like I haven't updated, I mean, like, listen, I have not updated my LinkedIn picture for a really long time. But like I don't want them to see me at all.
Mhm.
I don't want them to see my face. I don't want them to have access to this. I don't want them to have like anything of me now,
Mhm.
because and I mean, I feel like maybe that's kind of like the opposite of some people, where they're like, "Oh, well, I want them to see how good I'm doing. I want them to see this," but it's like I know that that's all this person wants, is to see me, and I'm like,
You're like, no.
"No. No, you don't get access to this anymore. Like, you made my life hell for so long. Like, you don't get any access to me."
Yeah.
So,
And that's valid. That's super valid. And
yeah.
you mentioned that you were just like young and this person's older and you missed some things.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how old is this person?
He's 17 years my senior, so he's in his 50s now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And y'all were together when you were 25?
Yeah, 24, 25. Yeah.
And how long were y'all together for?
Just like a couple of years. And I wouldn't even say, like, the thing is, Courtney, like I don't even, together is such a loose term, because we didn't live in the same city. Every time we met, it was like he was either coming to me or we were going to some like third party location. And maybe that was the fun of it. And but he would just like go and disappear for like weeks, and not contact me, and then just kind of out of the blue, like contact me. And I was coming off of like being single after my first like real long-term college boyfriend, and I was moving to a new place for my job, and it was like a very remote location for my first job. So I was feeling kind of lonely anyway, and this person kind of swooped in, and yeah, he just love, I know now what like love bombing is, because I experienced it, like a lot of gifts and stuff. And so it's like he'd disappear and then he'd come back, and he'd do things like be like, "Oh, I love you so much, but you can't love me because, we the age is it's too much. Like, you're too young. I'm too old for you and all of this." But then when I would react on that, then he would get very angry at me. And when I would mention something about our age difference, then he would get upset. And then toward the end, he was saying things like, "Oh, well, you never introduced me to your family because you were always concerned about the age difference." And my final straw was I did the thing that, some 25-year-olds do when they're feeling anxious, is he left his phone unlocked, and I just was like, "What's in here?" And I found pictures of him and a small baby, and another woman. And I asked him about it point blank, and he accused me of being like his ex-wife and being very snoopy. And I asked him, I was like, "Okay, well, if you have nothing to hide, just please, show me your phone." And he refused. And then while I was in the bathroom, deleted all the pictures and then was like, "Here, see, you're crazy." And essentially, like, I don't know, gaslighting. Um, yeah. Then he finally had like a guilty conscience a couple months later and decided to come clean with me about that. And I was like, "All right, well, bye. No
So
more." You're
how
just nuts.
how did this relationship look? So you're 25 and
Mhm.
however long it lasted. He's 42-ish,
Yeah.
right? And we're talking about you not introducing him to your family. We're talking about him having a whole nother family, him love bombing you, disappearing for a few months, right?
Yeah.
What what did you have any other relationships during this? Was this your boyfriend? Did you feel like a sense of commitment to him?
I did. I did, but at the same time, because he would do these things where he'd be like, "Oh, no, you need to go date other people. You need to go live your life," like every few
Now
months.
to
Huh?
you're like, now I don't want to.
Right. And so it's like, but then, sometimes I would just be like, "All right, fine," because I was sick of it. So I'd just, I'd go on a date or two, which was tough where I was living. It was kind of was a crapshoot because I lived in a very, like, rural area, but, yeah, it was mostly just, like, we would talk on the phone all the time, so
What time of day would you talk on the phone all the time?
evening,
Mm.
evening. Yeah, we would have, like, real long evening conversations back when Skype was, like, yeah, we would, like, Skype, um, and then, like, spend long weekends together, and I guess it's like, I never, like, looking back on it, I never introduced him or even thought to introduce him to my family because every time I felt like we would get to that point, he'd be like, he'd go disappear. So I'm like, what am I, when I gonna go, like, you know, introduce somebody who may or may not be here, you
Yeah.
know,
It's interesting that, like, that was an issue. You're like, "No, you're not gonna be my family. You're not even gonna stick around," but you still stuck around.
but I still stuck around. Yeah.
You talk to me about that, right? Like, in hindsight, what made you stay in this? It sounds like a very willful and emotionally manipulative relationship that you had. Like,
Yeah.
and the reason I'm using this terminology is because one of the issues that I hear from women who date men is that they're either emotionally ignorant, emotionally unaware, emotionally avoidant, or immature. And I'm not really hearing any of those things here. What I'm hearing is that this person very strategically used your feelings to keep you on the string. So with the love bombing, right? And sounds like there might have been some breadcrumbing, which is typically something along the
Yeah.
like the form of dangling a carrot. Here's a little bit of things. Oh, wait, I'm going to leave you hanging so that you miss me and you want me more. Here's a little bit of something, and then I'm going to do that again.
It very much breadcrumbing. And I think, like, I mean, I guess looking back, it's like, I just wish that I could, like, hug my younger self and be like, "Cut the cord sooner, girl. Like, just cut it sooner." Um, I'll be honest with you, I so this kinda started around, like, kind of like around me breaking up with a long-term boyfriend from college whom I lived with, like the very first person I ever cohabitated with. And we broke up and I moved away for my first job. And it was the first time I had ever lived on my own. And I was not good at being single, just not good at being single. And so when this person kind of swooped in, I was like,
How'd y'all meet?
okay.
17-year age difference. How'd y'all meet?
An airport. We were going to the same place, but it was just kind of this crazy story where we ended up essentially having like the most nightmare travel scenario possible. Our flight got canceled. We were trying to just get back from like one place to the other. We were going to the same place because hi, Mush. Hi. Oh, we have a visitor. Hi.
Hello?
Yeah, go help. Go help Papa bake. You have stuff in your hair. I'll be right there. Go, go, go. Go, go, go. It's okay if she hangs around. She's blurred. Hi. Hi.
Hello?
Can you say hi to Courtney? Hi. She says,
Hi. Oh, hello
yeah.
there. Hi.
Um, but yeah, we just had this like nightmare travel day where we ended up our flights got canceled and then canceled again for like weather or whatever. And so we ended up having to like the airline didn't have any other planes, so we ended up having to take taxis in small groups to this like tiny airport, and then that went to like another. So a lot of us just kind of like stuck together, and I mean, we just ended up sitting like we kind of sat together. Oh, Masha, okay, you need to go, sweet pea. Okay, go, 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 go. Yeah, all right. Oh, anyway, toddlers, man.
Like in the
Um,
whoa, get from over there like she got into something that she wasn't supposed to get into.
oh yeah, she did. She took the water that I had and spilled it all over the table.
All right. Yep.
Yeah, you go, what did you do? You just asked me what you do. You just spilled all mama's water. Can you go get a towel, please? Yeah. Okay. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Can you clean it up, please? Now mama doesn't have any water. So yeah, just kind of, it was this weird thing where, you know, normally I would not have. Yeah, I know you want to do it yourself because you're a three-nager. So yes. Yeah. Oh man, anybody listening that has toddlers totally gonna get it. Love her to death. Whew, it is something. She's strong-willed, thank goodness. Um, but yeah, we spent like, I mean, it was like 20 hours traveling together, and just kind of weird, he asked for my number, and then it was kind of the first time. I don't know, something in me was like, don't like, go ahead, give it. And I don't really like, I can't tell you why. So I actually did. And it took him a while to like contact me, and then he did. Okay, can you take this to Papa, please? Yeah. Go, 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 go. I know you poured it. Yeah. Go. Masha, Jesus. Okay, go. Oh, oh, anyway. It's okay, dear. It's a full house in here now.
How long did this relationship last?
Um, about like 2.5 years. So it's like, it's like on the one hand, it's like not, I don't know, longer than it should have.
Yeah.
Longer than it should have. That's that's
And
kind of the deal.
his artful, skills of the combination of things to keep you like kept you lingering. I'm curious if this is the person that you got away from, like, did that play a role in why you stuck around so long?
I'm sorry, you cut out a little bit. Can you ask that again?
If this is the person you got herpes from, could that contribute to why you stuck around for as long as you did?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because after that, it's like this, because my diagnosis came not a year into this. And so for I was probably like 6 months. And so I, yeah, go. Yeah, go, go, go. You got measuring spoons. Go. Go quick, 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 quick. Go measure, go measure, go measure. Okay. But yeah, no, because I mean, he had spent so much time kind of playing to my insecurities, I guess, anyway, that it's like by the time this diagnosis came, I was like, oh, well, shoot, that's it. That's it. And so I definitely stuck around and it, yeah, just because I kind of felt like, well, nobody's gonna, no, nobody's gonna, I'm really sorry.
No, no, it's real. Listen, you're a parent, right? And
Yeah.
you know repercussions.
Sorry, just like I'm telling this, like, just my kid is being dragged out by her feet by her dad. But yeah, no, there definitely was. This was somebody who was beating me down anyway, like outside of the fact that now I had herpes as well. And so there definitely was a lot of like there was a lot of like, I am too scared to figure out what dating outside of this looks like. Even though
Mhm.
this isn't really dating, but at
Mm.
least there's something and I'm
Someone
not
is,
totally alone and there's someone and I don't have to worry about because I think my first thought was, holy shit, like how do I tell people this?
yeah.
Like if this doesn't work, how do I tell people this? And I actually wanted to share for the listeners. I was thinking about this when we said we were going to do the interview. Just God bless my best friend in the entire world, my childhood best friend, Megan. Uh, Megan, I'll probably send this link to you, this podcast link, and I want you to hear this because I love you so much. And like, you saved my, just in the moment, it was the best thing that she could have ever said. The night that I got diagnosed, and um, I had the best team that diagnosed me too. And you can ask me about that too, because I know that that's not always the case with people. Like sometimes the medical field is really awful about this. I was so fortunate to have two people, especially in a small community, who were just so awesome about it. But I called my best friend and I was hysterical because I was like, where do I go from here? I'm all alone. I'm living in this place. And I felt like I like my life was over. But I called my best friend and I was just like, Megan, I need to tell you something. And I really hope that you don't like judge me or think worse or like all of this. And I'm just crying. And she's like, what is it? What is it? And I just was like, I was just diagnosed with HSV. I have herpes. And she paused for a second and she goes, oh, that's it? And I was like, Yeah. And she was like, Kate, I thought you were telling me you were like like you're dying or something the way that you're acting. She was like, listen, I'm not trying to minimize it, but there are so many people I know that have herpes. So many people. And I just like was like, really? And she was like, oh God, yes. And we're 25, you know? And I still think about that because it's also she comes from a family of like doctors. So I think for her this was just such a innocuous thing. And I'm like, damn, she was minimizing stigma before like before I even got there. And that was a really, I don't know, I hope everybody has a Megan in their life to kind of help.
Yeah, I often encourage people to find a support resource because that support that I offer to people
Yeah.
isn't really as good because I'm low risk, right?
Yeah.
people get diagnosed, I'm out there, I'm open about my status. You know, I have it. You know, if you reach out to me, like you're going to be at the very least met
Yeah.
with the perspective of someone who understands.
Right.
Whereas your friends, right? Like if I stop talking to you, there's no loss. If I just don't reply to your message, there's no harm, no foul. But
Right.
if best friend were to go, ew, get away from me, you're gross, right? That
Yeah.
would carry so much more weight. But in the same way, right? Like it carries positive weight because if they receive you and they can validate that you are no different than who you were or how they've seen you before your diagnosis, right? Like there can be so much healing that comes with that. And we
Yeah.
really miss out on that by holding it in and keeping it to ourselves. And we really don't have to.
No, and I tell you what, I've actually disclosed to a number of friends, and I would say 50% of them are like, "Oh yeah, me too."
Mm,
Which is
yeah.
bananas. It's
And that's
bananas. And it's like, I think for me, I actually had one friend who would practice her, she dated a ton and she would practice her disclosures with me. I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so but yeah, and it's kind of it's funny because it's like the more I would tell people and the more I would get comfortable with it, they're like, "Oh, okay." Like moving on. I mean, like if they're curious, they'd ask, but like with Megan, I mean, I'm sure she remembers, but it's also like that just changed her perception of me zero. Like she probably doesn't. I mean, she doesn't look at me and is like, "Oh, yeah, I remember you were diagnosed with herpes. I remember being on the phone with you." Like it just is was such a non-issue for her. And that's a really a beautiful thing. So, if you are brave enough to like, and I get it because it feels like a lot, but like you said, being able to kind of have a support system of people that you really trust, that you can be like, I'm having a hard time with this. They
hmm
can just kind of be a sounding board.
yeah. Um, I forgot what I was going to say. Uh,
Okay. Sorry.
No, no, it's okay. It's okay. So you get this diagnosis and you are like, you're staying in this relationship, right? And you're essentially committed to this person now, like forcefully.
Yeah.
Uh, what was the reaction that you got when you told this person that you have herpes? Like, how were you met with that information?
Gosh. Denial. It was
Denial,
just denial.
like, no,
Yeah.
you don't have that, or I don't
Yeah.
believe it. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
huh.
Um, yeah. It was just kind of like, I'll be honest with you, when I said I was like, I think I have this and I didn't have it before, like I was extremely terrified to like even bring it up. And when I did, it was just, you know, shut down. Like, oh no, you don't have that. That's not what that is. Like that's just, you know. Um and so, I just kind of was like, well, okay. And we just didn't talk about it after that,
Yeah,
which is like, yeah, because it's like, what do you do when you're
yeah.
just like,
That's
and I feel like there's a lot of that where it's like either like, I don't know.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
I So when y'all had sex, did y'all wear condoms still?
Yeah. Um, yeah, sometimes I guess it's like, you know, 50-50.
Yeah, that's
But
such a consistent thing. Like, what was
yeah.
the sex? Well, let me ask this: was the sex like as consensual, I guess, as it could be, given that you may not have been aware of what his status was? Like, did you want to be intimate with this person?
For a while afterwards, no.
Mm,
Um, and I mean it kind of like I mean it sucked because it coincided like I got diagnosed and then this person went on to their hi babes went on to like fully do one of his ghosting things that I called it. And I found out later it's because his son was being born in so so he just, was like working remote. He would like go offline, but that was because like I said, his son was being born. I had no idea. Um So we had to go be there for that. Um, so I just kind of navigated those initial, and it was a couple, it was like maybe like, I think like 6 weeks, 6 or 8 weeks that I didn't hear from him. So I just was like, okay, well, I guess I'm moving on. But he would kind of like you kind of mentioned the breadcrumbing. I'd get like a few emails. So every time I'd be like, yeah, I'm moving on, I'd get like an email. And then I was like, okay. And here I am like alone, kind of trying to navigate all of this. Um, so I didn't really have to, he wasn't around when I was going through that initial outbreak, which is, I mean, I feel like for so many of us, by far the worst. By
Yeah.
far the worst.
How did this end for you? You talk about him having a son, and then you found out like 6 weeks later that he
Oh
has a son.
no, I didn't find out until the very end, like a couple years later.
Oh, so the
Yeah.
very end,
I
couple.
found I found out when I found that out, that was it.
Oh,
That was
okay.
it. Yeah, no.
You found out about the second family, and you were just
Yes.
done.
Oh, I
And
felt horrible. I felt horrible.
so we're
I
talking about
was
10 years now.
yes.
So for
Yeah.
10 years, like how often are you contacted on like a yearly basis if you were to give it an average?
So like every other year I get
Oh,
an email just like
okay.
out of the blue, and I just started putting them into spam. I,
Mhm.
I put yeah, I put the email.
Is he apologizing or is he like, girl, you know you still want me? Like, what does he say? What do you say to somebody?
Well, it's never an apology. And
Mm.
that's the thing, is it's always a we never had a chance to talk. I never got closure. And I would just want to be like, closure was when you told me I was right after telling me I was crazy.
Have you like said, hey, if you contact me again, I'm sending our correspondence to the police?
You know, no, but
Ooh.
I should.
Have you seen the Netflix show Baby Reindeer?
Oh, yeah, it's not that bad.
Uh,
Yeah.
yes, because I had moments where I was like,
Oh, is
uh,
this gonna be baby reindeer? No, it's yeah,
all right.
no,
I need to ask this, and you can respond however you want to respond. But is there part of
sure.
you that likes the attention, that likes that he seemingly cares enough?
I guess in a way, like make it, yeah, yeah.
Do you feel
It's
sorry?
like, yeah, but
Do
like,
you love him?
oh no,
Okay, all
oh
right.
God, no.
All
I feel
right.
sorry for him in the way that, like, damn,
Uh-huh.
that's that's how your life turned out. Okay.
All right.
It's a that very much that, oh, love, no.
Mhm.
Oh God. No, it's like to the point where like I kind of think back on the relationship and sometimes I will get like physical shivers because
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no, like that's just not,
Yeah.
oh
So
no.
you leave this relationship and it looks like you're in something healthy now. You have a
Hmm.
daughter and you know that your partner is in the other room hearing you talk about bits and pieces of this, right? Like
Yeah.
so how is this? How did this happen?
Well, actually, you mentioned the kink community in your intro, and I actually have to credit the kink community and for this, for what I have. And I say it, I will shout it from the rafters. I mean, I tried the non-monogamous lifestyle, was not for me, but through that, couple things happened. First, I became much more comfortable with sex, which I never was before. Um, Number two, man, the kink community is so good about testing for STDs and just talking openly about that. And I was like, everybody needs to do this. And it was just like an eye opener. Like when I first was disclosing and people were like, okay, yeah, no, like that's fine. Like it was just a no, it was a no-brainer. It was just like, of course, like everybody has to know their status about everything because you can't do this lifestyle without knowing. And if you don't know, we're not going any further until you do know. And at least that was my experience. Um, and so I had a relationship with somebody um that was pretty brief. And he, we were together, but like seeing other people, and my now husband reached out to me on the ancient OK Cupid. And I said to my then partner, I was like, hey, um, this person reached out. I'm very interested. I'd like to go on a date with them. And they were like, absolutely, yeah. Like, go have fun. Like, I'll be going on a date with this person. And I was like, okay. And after a couple of dates with my now husband, I just was like, no, like this is the person that I want to be with. And I realized I was using the poly relationship in the wrong way, where it was more like for me, I was just kind of like, oh, well, I'll just kind of date this person, but like rather than be like, you know, committed to the lifestyle, it was more of just a way for me to like date other people. And then when I did find somebody who I really connected with, I was like, okay. And so I just, I know. And I feel like that might, who knows, but I had a very frank conversation with the person that I was in the relationship with prior, and was like, you know what? I don't think this is for me. And he was super supportive. I was in his wedding. So like, yeah. So yeah, that's how this happened.
All right. So that explains the faces you made during my intro when I was talking about the safe sex expo and
Yeah.
to bring some of those non-monogamy components into monogamous spaces. The
Yes.
communication, the tools, the language, right? And
Yes.
so, from your experience, what were some of those things that you learned through non-monogamy that have helped you with being in this relationship, this marriage that you're now in?
Communication. Man, I was a horrible communicator prior to being in the non-monogamy world. And I mean just about everything. Like I really would tend to shut down, and I realized that in that you can't. Like you gotta talk. And if you don't talk, it's not good. And so I was really pushed to talk more. And then, I feel like my partner now, he and I have a very good communication style. Like we say we're both cats, where it's like we like to be together, but sometimes we like to just sit in our separate chairs and look at each other from across the room and go, and then just enjoy our time apart too. But that's why we've been together for over a decade.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I think like communication is the biggest part of it, and just communication about like what you like, like and that could be like sexually or otherwise, like what makes you happy, what's a boundary that you have. And that's not something that I just had such a hard time with that before.
Non-monogamous conversations monogamous people need to be having.
Yes.
So let's go a little deeper in that. And the reason that I want to go into that is because please remember that for me, because I can't write it down without doing something weird or losing my train of thought. But
Okay.
non-monogamous conversations monogamous people need to be having
I'm actually going to send that to you right now.
so much.
So what did we say? Non
This conversation
mm,
that monogamous people need to have. Ooh, all right.
conversation.
I got my episode title here. Um, Now this is okay. We I know you. It's after your time. Oh
It
my!
is. It's
I'm
okay.
okay.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I'm so sorry that I have to, because this is something that I really like. And I actually,
Do you
every
need
once,
now, or do you have 10 more minutes?
I, I think
Yeah.
I need to go now.
Okay.
But, but I would be happy to find another 10 minutes somewhere.
Okay. What you think?
Um,
What you
uh,
thinking? Because I can close out the podcast here, or we can close
yeah,
out the conversation. Like, what do we need? Because this is something that I definitely want to go deeper into. I can take it from here.
yeah.
Go. What you need? What do you need?
Yeah, I think I need to go because my
Please.
husband just came in and was like, "You gotta go." So, I gotta go be mom. That's the thing. It's like, oh
So,
man, I love my daughter, but
so
yeah, it's
sorry.
like,
Wait,
no,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no, that
Wait,
is okay.
okay.
But yeah, but like, you
Okay.
know, we can chat about this
All
later
right.
too. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I'll wrap up this episode then and
for
like speak
sure.
to, why that's important and that this is something that's gonna likely be spoken on again in the near future. So please go. I'm gonna say
Okay,
you you were phenomenal. Thank you so much for sharing your story, your experiences,
of
and
course.
as open to this conversation as you have been, Kate. I will communicate with you on Instagram. Just shoot me a message like when you're available to do so.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay. So
Take
good
care.
to see you, Courtney.
You as well. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye. All right, y'all. I started a conversation, and I think that this is a place to share that this has been something that I've been navigating myself personally, as well as figuring out how, like Kate mentioned, that it was through non-monogamy that she was able to open up and learn that there were communication skills, there were things that she had to work on and got to heal from, and then that prepared her for being in and being able to communicate about the things that she really wanted in her monogamous relationship. And now 10 years later, having been married, having beautiful daughter that said hi on Zoom, she opened us up with being able to talk to some of these things that I really want to bring to the Safe Sex Expo. So this is going to be again September 29th, and I was going to talk about like kink introduction type stuff, but I'm feeling very called to speak to this aspect of it as well, because there's a lot of things that are so far on the other end of a spectrum of the way that we may do relationships, navigate sex and dating, that it's psychologically inaccessible to the people who can most benefit from it. Learning how to communicate things that you like is something that is sort of a norm in non-monogamy, whereas we get to monogamy and that's people's heads explode when you go into that kind of dialogue of asking, well, what do you like? All right, what are your testing practices, right? A lot of things in non-monogamy are assumed, whereas in monogamy, they are also assumed. But when you start to cross the two, some things are like, whoa, that's not okay. Whoa, like that's not how this goes, right? And so much of that does revolve around communication. So much does revolve around integrity and honesty and the idea of commitment and the idea of a baseline of expectations for the relationship. And really what I've learned in speaking to non-monogamous people is that communication is something that you have to get good at, right? And the people who are the quote worst at non-monogamy are the people who are the worst at communicating. And even in the dating world of the vanilla world, where people are more monogamous, the poor communication it's a shared it's a shared issue in relationships and dating, because people really aren't taught how to communicate things, and some people find like sort of a mentorship or a leader, or you go into the space that might be more of that kink friendly, sex positive, and you start to see it demonstrated in a way where you realize, oh, this is a way of doing things. So for people who might be weirded out by what they think kink or BDSM or sex positivity is, I think that it's important that we create in between space, a bridge that allows for them to take a few steps and be able to peek into what can be for themselves, whether it be in their relationships or in their dating or in their monogamy or non-monogamy, or just their role play or their spanking or sensual ways of being with each other, being with other people, and even being with themselves. So this is a topic of conversation that will come up again, and I hope to get more involvement from people. And, Kate said she got into the kink community, and the normalization of speaking about STIs and sexual health it's present there. So I'm not telling everybody to go be kinky. I'm telling everybody to go find a place, a space where they can learn more about these things and really open up your perspective and opening up your mind to be receptive to the possibilities of receiving some tools from unconventional places that you may not have expected to get them from. All right. So again, Safe Sex Expo, September 29th, 2024. This is going to be in New York City at Hit Me Up Space. I'm hosting this with the No Shame in This Game film producer, who is also now a board member of Something Positive for Positive People, y'all, Jolene Hernandez. So yeah, the tickets are on sale right now for $25. You can go to spfpp.org/events. I lost it there for a second. But yeah, I appreciate any input that y'all have about this podcast episode. If you're somebody who's navigating non-monogamy and looking to revert, I guess, back to monogamy, or if you're feeling the pressure of being non-monogamous in monogamous settings, or being monogamous in non-monogamous settings, or if you're just feeling like a change, like, hit me up. Like, I want to hear from you. I want to hear about these experiences so that I can speak to them, because I'm having more of these kinds of conversations recently, which is very interesting. All right. Till next time.